Imagine walking into your local grocery store, grabbing your favorite Coca-Cola from the shelf, taking a sip, and suddenly realizing it doesn't taste like the Coke you've loved your entire life. This would be impossible today. However, in 1985 millions of loyal Coca-Cola fans experienced that. After the company made of the most controversial business decisions in history. Coca-Cola had secretly changed their famous recipe because executives believed a sweeter formula would beat Pepsi and get even more customers. This triggered one of the worst backlashes in business history ever. It did not go well with people who have cherished moments with Coca-Cola. This proves that customers do not always choose with logic, they choose with emotions. To understand why New Coke failed, we have to first understand what Coca-Cola represents for all Americans. It wasn't just a soda, it became a part of everyday life. It could truly be seen as a staple favorite in most households in America. By the early 1980s, Coca-Cola dominated restaurants, supermarkets, sporting events and homes, becoming one of the most recognizable brands on earth. However, Pepsi launched the famous Pepsi Challenge. In blind taste tests, many people surprisingly chose Pepsi over Coca-Cola. This led to shockwaves through the Coca-Cola headquarters. Coca-Cola executives panicked and something had to be done. This is because doing nothing would cost them the market. Hence, Coca-Cola went on a mission to start one of the most ambitious products project in the company's history. Scientists experimented with hundreds of formulas while more than 200,000 taste tests convinced executives they had created a better Coca-Cola. The research measured only taste. It couldn't measure memories, family traditions, nostalgia or the emotional bond people had built with the original Coke. Executives were confident they had discovered the new future Coca-Cola, prepared to replace the original recipe forever. They believed that customers would celebrate the change and this would be a major success for the company. They had no clue this would become the start of the greatest marketing disasters in business history. April 23, 1985. Journalists gathered as Coca-Cola prepared to unveil what executives believed would be the future of the world's most famous soft drink. Executives proudly introduced the new formula and announced it would replace the original Coca-Cola. The drink had a new name, New Coke. At first, people were confused. Many assumed the original Coke would still be available. However, that was not the case at all. Within hours, Coca-Cola's customer service phones were flooded with calls asking one question: where is the real Coke? Executives defended the decision, pointing to years of research and hundreds of thousands of taste tests proving people preferred the new formula. Customers did not care about the research. They care more about the original taste they had grown up with and the nostalgia. Television stations, newspapers and radio shows quickly turned New Coke into the biggest business story in America. The criticism spread across the country. Comedians mocked the decision, while headlines questioned why Coca-Cola had changed an American icon. Frenzy in the supermarkets. The supermarkets sold out of the last remaining bottles of the original Coca-Cola as customers rushed to buy whatever stock was left. Some people drove for hours searching different stores, while others stored unopened cases of the original Coke in their homes. Consumer groups formed, protests appeared, and thousands of handwritten letters demanded the return of the original recipe. After only 79 days, Coca-Cola faced an impossible choice: defend New Coke forever, or admit one of the greatest mistakes in business history. After 79 days of relentless backlash, Coca-Cola's leadership did accept that the customers were rejecting New Coke. A decision had to be made. The company had to decide whether to protect its pride or restore the drink people truly loved. On July 11, 1985, Coca-Cola announced that the original recipe would return under a new name, Coca-Cola Classic. The announcement immediately became national news. Customers celebrated across America. Grocery stores quickly restocked the original bottles, and people eagerly bought Coca-Cola Classic as soon as it returned. Retailers reported strong demand, while restaurants proudly served the original Coke again. The company had regained the trust it nearly lost. Sales recovered and Coca-Cola stabilized. However, the new Coke story was far from over. business schools around the world began studying what occurred. Some experts called New Coke one of history's biggest marketing disasters. Others argued the controversy made Coca-Cola Classic even more valuable. The most valuable lesson was not about soft drinks. It was about understanding customers beyond surveys and taste tests. People didn't just love the flavor. They loved birthdays, family dinners, summer vacations, and memories connected to the original Coke. Coca-Cola remains in people's heartbeats. Data can measure preferences, but it cannot measure nostalgia, loyalty, or emotional attachment. Coca-Cola learned that lesson the hard way. Instead of blaming customers, Coca-Cola took feedback proactively and admitted the fatal error. That decision helped protect one of the world's most valuable brands. Today, New Coke remains one of the most famous business case studies ever taught because it reminds companies that trust is earned over decades but can be damaged in days. Sometimes, the most powerful business lessons is not about creating something new. It is about knowing when not to change what millions of people love. Nearly 4 decades later, the New Coke launch is still discussed in universities, boardrooms, and marketing conferences as one of the most fascinating product decisions ever made. This proves that market research is powerful. It should never replace understanding how people emotionally connect with a brand they have trusted for generations. Many companies have studied Coca-Cola's mistake, asking the same question: how do you innovate without destroying the identity customers already love? Today, Coca-Cola continues to introduce new flavors and limited editions. However, the original recipe remains at the heart of its identity internationally. The New Coke story isn't really about a soft drink. It's about the danger of ignoring customer loyalty, nostalgia, and trust when making billion-dollar decisions. Every successful company eventually faces a difficult choice between innovation and tradition. Coca-Cola's experience reminds us that finding the right balance can define a brand for decades. What's your opinion? If you had been Coca-Cola's CEO in 1985, would you have launched New Coke or kept the original recipe? Let us know in the comments. If you enjoy true business stories about billion-dollar mistakes, corporate rivalries, and incredible comebacks, subscribe to Rise Fall Repeat. The next story might change the way you see business forever.